Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 13, Episode 32. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us here this Monday, Steelers Nation. And Dave, I think it's now appropriate for the song you usually sing your people whenever times are tough, like they are right now. So take it away.
Yeah, doom, despair. No, wait a minute. It's gloom, despair, and agony on me. Oh, deep, dark depression, excessive misery. Oh, yeah, a little bit of hee-haw for you. Boy, you missed out back on the old hee-haw.
It sounds like it.
You can probably YouTube a few of those if you like. I'm sure you'll add that to the list right behind the Casey Kasem American Top 40. I don't know, we might have a better more interesting conversation talking pop culture today. As opposed to what all happened there Sunday at Highmark Stadium. What did Mike Tomlin call it several times? Just a beat. What did he say specifically? A beat down?
I don't remember the term, but
yeah,
someone said they were smashed. They got the butts kicked.
Smashed. That's
okay.
It. Smashed. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. And it started off good the first couple of plays there, but
then the wheels fell off of the Pittsburgh Steelers Coca-Cola.
Yeah, until we blew an engine, and it quickly got over just as quick as it got started there. So a lot to talk about today. This might need to be two shows because we might need another show to handle the email machine here, but we'll do the best we can.
So just to recap things at the top, Pittsburgh losing to the Buffalo Bills 38-3 Sunday, dropping the Steelers to 1-4 on the season, losers of 4 straight games. Now their worst loss from a point differential standpoint since the infamous 1989 51-0 shutout loss to the Cleveland Browns. So anytime that you're talking about 1989 usually means you had a bad day in Pittsburgh. Yesterday had a very, very bad day. Before we get into all that happened and all that went so wrong against Buffalo on Sunday, let's do some housekeeping here to start. Prior to the game on Saturday, the Steelers made a couple of roster moves. They promoted and signed Ryan Anderson, the outside linebacker, off the team's practice squad to the Steelers' 53-man roster, releasing David Anini in a corresponding move. And so Anini was brought over from Tennessee, never actually dressed for a game, so they're choosing the veteran Anderson over the youngster in Anini. Pittsburgh also elevating cornerback Josh Jackson and safety Elijah Riley from the practice squad to the 53-man roster as injury replacements and fill-ins for the Bills game. Jackson ended up playing quite a bit of snaps in this one. Riley, don't think he played a single defensive snap, but did dress in this game. And so from an inactive active standpoint, it was the players who were injured, including Keller Witherspoon. Terrell Edmonds was ruled out on Saturday due to the concussion. That was one reason why Riley came up. And then Gunnar Olszewski was inactive, and Steven Sims was supposed to be the starting return man. We'll talk about that here in a second, but Sims was taking the place of Gunnar Olszewski.
Yeah, nice way to get 3 paychecks for David Anini, right?
There are worse ways, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously getting signed off of the practice squad from the Titans, he had to remain on the 53-man roster, and hold a full spot there for 3 weeks there. And that came and went, and we hardly knew him, did we? Just one of the several curious things that this team, has done kind of roster wise that makes you scratch your head. I mean, if you had to have them so bad that you had to eat up a roster spot to have them, did you not like what you I can understand maybe that first weekend him being inactive because it happened so close to game time. But was he that bad, or couldn't pick up the defense, or all of the above, that he couldn't even get a helmet? For those 3 games, interesting to say the least. But obviously, that's not what,
the least of the team's problems is David Anini.
Yeah, that's not what doomed this season there. But I just looking back at it's one of the things that kind of kid never got a helmet there. So the elevations, I think we saw coming. Even I was even able to have the post all written up and ready to go on Saturday there, because they were kind of predictable with Jackson being elevated along with Riley, and that obviously came on the heels of Terrell Edmonds being downgraded to out on Saturday. There. So with the Keller Witherspoon down and Edmonds out, it made sense to elevate those 2 guys. We kind of knew what the inactive list would look like as well, too, thanks to Steven Sims revealing that he would be the returner instead of Gunnar Olszewski on Sunday there. So not a lot of surprises there overall, I guess, other than maybe Ryan Anderson coming up to the 53 full time and David Anini being let go. But as we said, Anini couldn't get a helmet, so really not much of a surprise in that overall.
I do want to get to the injuries related to this game before we get into the game itself. Pittsburgh suffering several in-game injuries to key players, including Larry Ogunjobi with a back. Cam Sutton with the hamstring came into that game with the groin. Hamstring injury lasted just about a half before he couldn't gut it out any longer. A couple of concussions, cornerback Levi Wallace and Pat Freiermuth, and Steven Sims with that eye injury suffered in pre-game warm-ups, I guess, after the inactives were set at 11:30. That forced James Pierre to be the team's initial kick returner, and that went very poorly for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Sims did play in this game, but apparently wasn't ready, I guess, at the start. For Freiermuth, that's now 3 concussions in 2 years, and that is very scary, and all concussions are serious, but Freiermuth, it looked like he was knocked out cold initially on that hit, and he was able to walk off, but we're talking about some very, very serious head injuries that are happening in a pretty short length of time. So that's very concerning for me personally. And for seeing that for Pat Freiermuth. Also, of course, need to mention what's going on with TJ Watt. Late this past week, the report came out that Watt underwent knee surgery. This was apparently 9 days ago, according to the CBS broadcast, that reportedly it would only keep him out an extra week or 2. There isn't a whole lot of detail about maybe the timetable and how it's going to shift. Mike Tomlin, speaking to reporters after the game, acknowledged the report, basically said, "I do not dispute the report of the knee surgery." So it's pretty clear that it did occur. Jerry Dulac last night saying the team now expects Watt to return in week 10 against the Saints after the team's week 9 bye week. So I guess that's really all that matters. That's probably looking very, very likely that TJ Watt does not return until after the bye. Again, what was the expectation for return prior to the knee surgery? We're not quite sure, so it's hard to say exactly how much this impacted it, but certainly still worth noting the now actual surgery Watt's gone under.
Yeah, first you had Jason Lockenfor out there saying he could be back as soon as the Tampa Bay game. I think kind of what he insinuated there, and then you had the speculation that TJ Watt had some sort of a setback with his pec injury. Well, it ended up being somewhere in the middle there with him, I guess, needing a knee cleanup of some sort, and don't know what knee specifically, but I would probably guess it's the left knee, the one that he took that low block on in the preseason game against the Lions, and but also in the Week 1 game against the Bengals, he grabbed for that right knee after the block on Joe Burrow there. But I think the more serious of the two is probably that left knee that he got banged up in that Lions game. So probably some sort of, I don't know, flap or whatever that needed to be removed or something there. Go back to kind of when the initial injury with Watt happened, the pectoral injury. I kind of speculated that we probably wouldn't see him until the game after the bye, and Obviously, at the time, didn't know he was going to have the knee cleaned up and all like that. But it makes sense based on everything that's out there right now at this present moment that it would indeed make sense that first game back would be probably against the Saints after the bye.
And now the Steelers are, is it 0-8? It's 0-8, right?
0-8.
Is that what TJ want?
Right.
Yeah, so
right. We need the 0-8 jersey, right?
something like that. All right, Dave. Let's get into this game again. Pittsburgh losing to Buffalo 38-3. This one just essentially a non-competitive game after the first, 5 minutes or so, essentially. Really, there isn't a ton to analyze in the sense that whenever you get beat this bad, it's just bad, and you just kind of wallow in it is what I typically end up doing in situations like this. But we'll start the game off here. It was a good opening drive for the Steelers offense. I mean, if I don't know how to best describe this. If you watch maybe the first 5 minutes of this game, it was a decent experience for a Steelers fan. After that, it was just an absolute mess. But on the opening kickoff, I guess we'll start there. With the wind and just kind of the weird day for special teams overall, you get the Bills, muffing their kick return, tackled to 2. You get stops on first and second down. It's 3rd and 10 at Buffalo's 2. You're thinking, man, we're in a really good position. You get a punt here.
Game couldn't start any better, could it?
I remember last year it started with a 75-yard kick return, and so it was like totally opposite ends of the spectrum, and you feel like you're in a really good spot. So Buffalo backed up, going to get the ball, get great field position, maybe take an early lead and try to take some early control of the game, take the crowd out of it. And then Josh Allen does what Josh Allen does, and Gabe Davis does what Gabe Davis does, and 98 yards later, it's 7-0 Buffalo, and that kind of set the tone of the day. So, I mean, it's just too much Buffalo. The Bills are the Super Bowl favorites, or one of them for a reason, and they, like the Chiefs, are probably the only two teams in the league that can just pour things on in a moment's notice. I mean, it goes from 10-3 after the first quarter to 31-3 at halftime, and in just a couple of plays, couple of minutes of action, the game totally shifts, and that's due to their talent at quarterback, their speed at receiver, and Pittsburgh just simply was outmatched from a roster perspective, and that's really the story of the game.
Yeah, and you missed a little bit in the setup there too with the Bills. Look, we knew the Bills were going to be down a few guys in this game, right? Poyer and the Crowder and the cornerback that they had that was ruled out, and then you get to Saturday and it wasn't sounding too terribly great for Tremaine Edmonds either, and he ended up being inactive, as did Isaiah McKenzie. So you're looking at their scratch list, the Bills inactive list, along with the move that they made with, I think they sent Crowder to IR. And you're thinking, okay, well, maybe, as banged up as the Steelers secondary is here heading into this game, maybe this will even things out a little bit because make no mistake. And look, the Bills also didn't have Knox, right? Dawson Knox, their top tight end. So you're thinking, the Bills are missing a couple of key players on both sides of the football. Maybe this will level the tables a tad here. And that's just something to talk about as we move forward into this, that, man, they were down a couple of key players on offense, a couple of key players on defense, and it still wasn't close on top of it. And, getting right to that first home run play of theirs of 98 yards there. Interesting decision to kind of go the bracket coverage that they did there, right? On the outside. Was there anything in the first 4 games that would have been a hint that the Steelers would have used something like that?
No, I don't remember seeing anything like that.
I don't remember it. No.
I mean, Pittsburgh, to whatever credit you want to give them in a 35-point loss, they're trying a lot of new and different things because they know they basically have to without TJ Watt, probably without the talent and ability they normally, try to play with. But there's a lot of unintended consequences as you try these new things and figure things out and see what works and see what doesn't. And the safeties were really shallow. Basically, Pittsburgh was trying to hold and disguise coverages as long as possible in this game with their blitz packages, with their games and stunts they were running, what the coverages they were holding for Allen. And so the safeties are really shallow. They don't get any sort of depth, and that basically makes Wallace 1v1 against Gabe Davis, and Davis just burns him, and Norwood never has a chance. So that's what happened on that play.
Speed, it kills. And that's exactly what happened there. If you're going to bracket too, it helps to have a bracket on top and bottom. And the Steelers couldn't get in position to do that, especially with the angle that Norwood took off the snap there. Gabe just split him and ran right past him. I mean, that's it. Good night. I mean, that's the play, right?
Yeah, again, because the safeties at the snap are at the stick, so they're about 10 yards deep, and so there really is no depth there because I think they're trying to hold that coverage so it doesn't look like, so Allen doesn't know is this quarters, is this, are they going to rotate those single high look, and you're trying to hold that as long as you can, because even if you shift right before the snap, that's still giving Allen some time to process and read that. But again, whenever you're just facing a team that is just flat out better than you, and the Bills obviously are flat out better than the Steelers, you can scheme it up all you want, but ultimately talent wins out.
Do you think that was a side adjustment on Davis's part?
Well, the routes are both vertical, and so if you don't beat your man, you look at the receiver to the top, he breaks his route off. That's a side adjustment there. But if you have the jump on the corner, then you can just keep running vertically. Right.
In other words, he had the option to break that off probably as well too, depending on.
Yeah, I'm sure if he didn't feel like he was going to be able to stack Wallace, he could probably break that off at the sticks.
Right. And when you have a quarterback that can throw it over that there mountain.
Yeah, I imagine he doesn't have to break his route off too often when he runs 4-3, and Allen has just a crazy arm.
And Allen talked about it, because look, one of my keys to this game was don't let no bigs from digs. Let make the other wide receivers, especially, and I had written that up before, knew what was going to happen, whether or not Isaiah McKenzie was going to be ruled out for that game or not. Make the other guys, Gabe Davis and Shakir, beat you. And they did, and Diggs got his on top of everything else there. So, kudos to them. Come out in a third and long situation, backed up in your own end there, and you shot play it.
Yeah, and that was my concern with Davis. I know Diggs rightfully gets all the attention, but Davis, is finally healthy and battled an ankle injury. And I said, this team was probably going to try to take Diggs away and a lot of bracket coverage and roll things to him, but that would leave Davis one-on-one. And you better be able to turn and run with that guy because he's a game breaker. And he proved that in this game with touchdowns of 98 and 62 yards. It's the longest passing touchdown the Steelers have allowed since 1966. And so, that one certainly was a gut punch for a lot of reasons. But again, you're 3rd and 10. You got a great chance to get off the field. Set a great tone early after the kickoff miscue by Buffalo. And it goes from the best position Pittsburgh could be in to the worst position Pittsburgh could be in.
When you're throwing out dates like that was before Uncle Dave was born. That's used as generally not a good sign concerning the Steelers there. So, look, 7-0 at that point. Then you turn around and say, okay, got crushed on an explosive play. Let's get the ball back here. Let's get Kenny on the field. And by the way, about Steven Sims, the report is that I guess during warmups with Kenny Pickett, a ball went through his hands and got him square in the eye. And that's why he wasn't out there to start with. At least he was able to, I guess, get back on the field there. But the decision came down to put James Pierre back there. And I would assume that the Bills seeing that is what a decision was made to say, hey, let's see what he can do handling the football. Defensive player, it's rare enough for a defensive player to be back there returning kicks for the Steelers, but you go with James Pierre over a guy like Cameron Sutton, who had experience in college doing as such. That was a curious choice.
It was one of the very curious decisions on the day. And I understand you're on essentially third string kick returner and making a last second adjustment after inactives come in. That's not a fun place to be, but I'm guessing, and Tomlin said that Pierre does a little bit of that in practice. I've never seen him do it in training camp.
It looked like it.
Yeah, that's for sure. It looks a little bit different when you're in Pittsburgh than in Buffalo in a windy condition overall. But you can't put a receiver back there. Deontay can't do it. Pickens can't do it. Heck, I would take Benny Snell to do it, who's returned a couple of kicks before. He's the up man. Sometimes you get some of those, high sky kicks that land in his hands. So I'm not sure what compelled this team to put Pierre back there. It is, there are no great options, I'm sure, in that moment, but I feel like there have to be better ones than that. And of course, Pierre muffs the kickoff and Buffalo recovers. Now, Buffalo didn't get points out of it. Great defensive stand by Pittsburgh, but still, the decision-making to put Pierre back there was just the first of many questionable coaching decisions on the day.
Agreed. What was Deontay busy hydrating or something? And I mean, once again, when Cameron Sutton was drafted, I remember thinking, well, yeah, this guy's got a little bit of return ability here on top of it. But have we other than preseason, I don't think we've seen him back there in a regular season game, have we, with Sutton?
Sutton, not on kicks. He's done some punts before. There was an injury years back where he came in and finished a game out there. What did he do in college? I guess he didn't. No, I have the wrong Cam Sutton. No, it was a Cam Sutton from Fresno State that came up. That's weird. How much did he do in college? Yeah,
probably not many kick returns, but I thought he did a handful.
Mostly punts. He had 4 career kick returns. Pierre apparently had 3 at Florida International, but he was not a primary return guy, obviously. Again, bottom line is I feel like there had to have been better options than putting Pierre, who's barely played this year, much less trying to return kicks.
Yeah, once again, we're talking about one play in one game that's not what sunk this team. And as you mentioned, the defense was able to get a stand, and DeMarvin Leal. I think that was when DeMarvin Leal blocked the field goal attempt, right?
I think they're officially crediting it to Cam Hayward. I haven't gone back and watched the play to see exactly who got a hand on it, but the box score is saying it's Cam Hayward.
Okay, all right.
And then from there, I mean, Pittsburgh's actual first offensive drive was decent. I mean, they got points, which is so rare to see for a first offensive drive. It was 12 plays, 50 yards. Pickett, making some good throws and good reads on third downs. They were 2 of 2 to start the game on third down, and so it's 10-3, I think, in that moment, or 7-3 in that moment. And it's not that bad overall. You feel like, okay, your offense had some life early, and then it was just floodgates open from there, and it's all Buffalo. And that's really the story of it. It's just too much Bills, and from a talent perspective, the gap there was just so wide that Pittsburgh really could not keep up.
Yeah, look, as far as, what you would assume would be a nice, a scripted drive for Kenny Pickett to come out. And, we've talked about how poised he's been throughout this thing. At no point did I worry about him being poised in a hostile environment and the moment being too big for him and yada, yada, all the stuff that we talked about during the preseason with him. And then obviously coming into the game against the Jets at half, and, just look cool as a cucumber, as they'd say there. And he did, some nice conversions there on third downs, and especially the first one was that was the 3rd and 11 far hash throw to Pickens. I mean, nothing like showing off the old noodle, right on a 3rd and long situation and throwing cross field in a situation like that. And I guess the play that you'd probably circle on that's what ended up being a stalled drive would be the pass over there to the right side that Deontay Johnson made a nice catch on it, but didn't get 2 feet down on there, and that was, I think, that was a 3rd and 8 play in that situation. And I mean, if he catches that and stays in bounds, I mean, you're obviously right there in business, and maybe you turn that thing into a touchdown, but instead settle for obviously a field goal at that point. But just that drive alone had a real good feeling of Pickett in the game, and really a good job in pocket presence. I mean, there are a lot of positives alone, I think, that you can pick out of that one drive when it comes to Pickett.
Yeah, I thought, again, just the composure going in a hostile environment against a really good Bills team that's really well coached and creates a lot of chaos and pressure on a quarterback. To go through your reads, the second, third down conversion you had to Zach Gentry was a really good, full field read of going right to left and eyes and feet working together and making a throw and moving the sticks. And even that throw to Deontay was where only he could make that play. And so I thought it was a really encouraging first drive overall. I thought Pickett was a competitive and battled and played decent overall for a first start, just given the circumstances. Obviously, the name of the game is points and how much did you score? And Pittsburgh ultimately only had 3 points on that first drive. And then after that field goal drive, next 3 drives are 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. And so that's falling back on the old Steelers offense, or the current Steelers offense, I should say. Just overall, just kind of zooming out. I mean, I thought the game plan, and I'll have to go back through the all 22, but it felt pretty conservative. And I understand that. Rookie quarterback, first career start on the road against the Bills. But my whole thought was, you're massive underdogs against the Bills. They are missing a ton of pieces in the secondary. Go big or go home. If you're going to lose, go down swinging. And the offense felt pretty conservative and pretty, take a profit and let's try to run the ball on first and second down. And that really is not a recipe to try to upset the Bills.
Yeah, did you really think after the start to that game that your mindset should be, well, let's just kind of 1917 this game?
Right. Field goals do not beat the Bills.
Right. And especially after that start that they had, and for the drive alone that Pickett had on his first drive there, what in Sam Blazes would lead you to say, you know what, here, let's just run the ball on first and second down. Let's try to convert on third here. We're worried about our rookie quarterback. I mean, that all went out the window the moment he stepped on the field against the Jets, in my opinion. And really, you already kind of knew that you had a cool cat, if you will, well before that as well too. So yeah, it was real curious, those next several drives, that you're almost like you said, take it if it's there. If not, we'll punt, and we have confidence in our defense. We'll 1917 this game.
Right. For all the talk about Mike Tomlin saying that Kenny Pickett is no ordinary rookie quarterback, and we're not going to grade him on a curve, not treat him like a typical, 21-year-old rookie. And all that's fair, because Pickett's 24, 5 years in college, is certainly really mature, really composed for most guys in his shoes. First career start are at. But you're looking later, after that drive, the next drive, it's they did throw it on 2nd and 7. They get the holding call, puts him behind the stick. So, maybe that's not really on play calling as much, but second quarter, 1st and 10, run, 2nd and 4, run, 3rd and 4, complete short of the sticks. That was actually a bad read by Pickett. And then they punt, next possession, 1st down, run, 2nd down, run, 3rd and long, incomplete, punt, and just stuff like that. So there weren't a lot of shots. There wasn't a lot of attacking, not a lot of aggression. And I understand, again, a lot of stuff, working against Pittsburgh, the opponent, the venue, the weather, etc. But really just, you weren't going to win this game by just trying to do 3 yards in a cloud of dust and just trying to, get field goals and stuff like that. And it's just really not a good game plan to even attempt to beat the Bills.
Well, it goes into kind of the thoughts even ahead of the season here. You got to have, with the way we thought this running game might be, and you're gonna have to find a way to run the football if that's your intention of trying to win games that way. And I think it's becoming more and more evident now. Boy, that terrible take I had a couple weeks ago, that one went way terrible now. I said wasn't as concerned about the Steelers defense at the time. And I guess I was coming out of I don't know, was it ahead of the Browns game? Might have been right ahead of the Browns game. But, you obviously don't have the defense that you kind of thought you might have. I don't think there was anybody in their right mind that thought, you're going to have a, 2005 or 2008 unit here this season. But you thought, maybe somewhere, not as good as that, but maybe something that'll keep you in some games. And look, they're adjusted net yards per passing attempt stat while going into this game 1-3. was showing that it's not awful. It's something that if you get any contributions from your offense that you think they'd be able to win some games. But I mean, they actually got blown up, and even if you could have run the ball better than you did on Sunday in Buffalo, that wasn't going to be enough. This is still an offense 5 games into the season. As you pointed out several times, they don't have a receiving touchdown from a wide receiver yet. As I've pointed out several times now, they don't have an explosive running play for 20 yards or more. They don't have a double explosive passing game of 40 yards or more. They are the only team in the NFL right now at this point can say that. I think there's not many. I think there's like 1 or 2 teams that maybe don't have an explosive 20-yard run yet. And I think the Cardinals might be, of all teams, the Cardinals are the only team that other than the Steelers that don't have a 40-yard play on the books this season. Repeat after me. NFL games are all about explosive plays and takeaways. 2005 might not seem that long ago right now at this point, but it is. That's like yesteryear football now, I think, at this point. You've got to be able to register explosive plays. You've got to be able to take the football away on a consistent basis throughout a season to win games in the NFL, in my opinion. Or you better have a damn good kicker.
Yeah, or fantastic defense that just keeps the score down and allows your offense to win in those low-scoring affairs. And yeah, just to put the era difference into perspective, Kenny Pickett threw 52 passes in his first career start. In Ben's rookie year in 2004, he never threw more than 28 passes in a single game his entire season. Pickett's at 52. So that's an era. It's a different era, different team, that's for sure. But yeah, the offense overall, they start the game 2-2 on third down. They finish the game. What did they finish the game on third down? 3 of 13. And so they just couldn't win possession downs from, there on out, and lack of a run game being in third and long against that Bills pass rush. It does not help becoming one-dimensional, A, because the run game did not work, and then B, because game script basically said that you could not run the ball in that game. The offense was just, mediocre. Pickens made some plays at least. That was about it, I guess, overall. Deontay, the drops, the frustration, missed opportunities, that continues for him. Claypool's a poor route runner, essentially non-existent in this game. Freiermuth being concussed, that's certainly concerning there. Najee didn't run well, didn't catch well. Overall, Pittsburgh just had 0 answers. So, I mean, if there's anything else about the offense you want to, throw in, feel free, but it was all just pretty bad.
And it's going to be a lot of doom and gloom in this one. I want to try to throw in whatever small little tiny positives as I can. That way we will get fewer emails of y'all. Yins aren't Steeler fans. What Yins always hate on the Steelers and all. So I want to make I woke up this morning with the idea of, try to put in as many positives or positive takeaways as we can in this podcast this morning. And here's a tiny one for you. And I'm going to follow it up with a slap in the rear. Okay. The Steelers were 3 of 4 on third downs of 5 or less in that game. All right. So what did we talk about kind of, during before Kenny Pickett hit the field? Through those first 3.5 games or whatnot, talked about how you got to do a better job of converting some of these third and manageable situations, right? And they were 3 of 4 on third downs of 5 or less. So there's a positive. However, comma.
As always, the however, comma.
They were 2 of 11 on third downs of more than 5 yards, and that's. Not that converting a few more of those would have made a damn difference, but there you go. Here's another small positive followed by a slap in the rear. The Steelers had 137 yards of after the catch in this game against the Bills, Alex. And you look at that 137 number, it looks like monumental. Which, I mean, thankfully they did, because they needed every yard after the catch, to pump up some of those offensive numbers in this game. When you look at, and you just mentioned how many times he threw the ball, and, obviously how many completions, had over 30 completions in the game. That averages out to just 4 yards after the catch average.
Yeah. So it's a lot of volume working in that yak stat.
Right.
Other positives. Let's focus on other positives. I mean, Pickens continues to win contested, and Kenny Pickett has a lot of trust in him, a lot of trust in his guys overall to make plays. And Pickens is that rare guy where generally I think receivers who try to win contested don't work in the NFL, but Pickens is a guy that has such a unique blend of athleticism and body control and hand-eye coordination and just kind of alpha mentality and ability that he's able to win those more often than other guys do. And so I thought overall, he continues to grow and become a bigger and bigger part of this offense, as he should. And Kenny Pickett shows a lot of trust in George Pickens.
Yeah, and that's another positive there. That guy makes, as we've seen from the moment even going back to his time at Georgia, very good body control, very sure-like hands, and really is coming into his own at this point. And the only thing really we haven't seen, unfortunately, yet is him home running somebody over the top. Not that he can't. It's just we haven't had that 65-yard home run yet. It's coming at some point.
Is it?
I mean, so. I didn't say when. I didn't say it'd be this season, but I foresee that stuff happening with him at some point. And he's good at coming back to the football. I think his comebacks, he really fights. They call it a comeback route for a reason, right?
What do you mean by that?
You're coming back to the quarterback.
Oh,
right,
sure.
How many times do you see these wide receivers, run that comeback and don't make a concerted effort to come back to the quarterback, and then the ball comes out late from the quarterback or whatnot, and you end up seeing a pass breakup or interception or whatnot like that. So, and he's still, like it or not, people are not going to like this statement. He's still a very raw route runner overall, but his raw intangibles, once he becomes a better route runner, are going to make him that much more deadly. And that one catch over there on the left side, that's one of those ones where the quarterback wants his player to win a matchup, and he did. And obviously the other one later in the game that he got the hand down. Unfortunately, that one didn't count because of the rule, because of the rules and all like that. But just another instance of him showing fantastic body control and ability to make the catch. And I mean, the guy can play the X, the guy can play the Z. So if we're going to take away positives from this game, I thought George Pickens was one of them.
Let me play your game for a moment of a positive stat followed by a kick in the rear. Pittsburgh had 36 minutes and 8 seconds time of possession. That's really good. They are now the third team in NFL history to have the ball for 36 plus minutes and lose by 35 plus points. And that's obviously because Buffalo was scoring so quickly that they didn't need to possess the football. Again, very Chiefs-like, where they can just have the ball for 25 minutes or under and still put up, 40 points because their offense is that explosive and that potent overall. Some other small bright spots. Jaylen Warren ran hard to close that game out. Certainly his mentality, competitiveness, aggression, effort does not go unnoticed even in a terrible loss like that. Congrats to Connor Hayward, his first career 2 receptions and first down of his career. What did you think about, and we both have to go through the all 22, so we're not making final conclusions here on the game, but what did you think about Pickett's play overall in his first career start?
Top to bottom, and look, I mean, I thought it was a fairly clean first half overall. I think he missed a read on a third down or two. I think that he probably could have gone another way with one there. But first half overall, the interception was a very, very poor decision. I thought that was the worst decision, obviously, of the whole first half. I thought it was a very clean overall. I'd probably give him, I don't know, like a B+ once again for his first half play and pocket presence and ability to read, what he needed to read. The second half's just so hard, to judge, and I'm sure the all 22 will bear it out a little bit better there, because once again, you're in a blowout situation. How much does that change the mentality of the Bills defense? Right, don't get beat over the top and give up some things underneath in certain situations there. But even still, top to bottom there. Even though it was like playing two separate games because of the fact that it was a blowout at halftime and became even more of a blowout. That guy never quit on it throughout this whole thing. And, obviously got in a couple of, scuffles there surrounding him there later on in the game because of hits and whatnot. And, I would probably give it a B- just on first blush overall. I mean, they did not lose that game because of Kenny Pickett. I'll tell you that. They obviously didn't win the game because of Kenny Pickett, or didn't get close to winning the game because of Kenny Pickett. But you can't look at this game and say, man, Kenny Pickett. You can't grimace looking back at this game. It is what it was, a blowout wise, but I thought just on the TV tape alone and first blush, and look, there's going to be a lot more games here to kind of judge him and get a consensus of what he is and what he isn't. And I'm not going to do that. After 6 quarters of football with him, but I think the 6 quarters that we've seen, I don't see how you can come out of that 6 quarters and be disappointed.
Yeah, I think that's a fair evaluation overall, and I'm with you, and I said as much before the game. I think it's very fair, and of course we will be analyzing, Pickett, the good, the bad, everything else after each game, but I'm very careful not to conclude anything of Kenny Pickett. I want to watch the whole season, see how it looks now versus how it looks at the end of the year, the progression. Good and bad during the course of the season throughout the rest of the year. That's really the number one thing for Steelers fans to look for the remainder of 2022. I thought it was a decent showing overall, given the tough circumstances. He was composed. He met the moment. It didn't feel like it was too big for him. And he certainly was competitive and battled and, tried to fight hard till the end. So you have to give him credit for that. And as you said, not the reason why this team lost the game. But still, end of the day, and I understand the context of receivers got to be able to do more and the lack of a run game. But at the end of the day, this team put up 3 points. I mean, Kenny Pickett threw 52 times, not throw a single touchdown pass. And I mean, it's like, I understand the rookie versus non-rookie aspect of it. But if Mitch Trubisky puts up that stat line, no one's thinking that guy has a good game, and he's probably being criticized pretty routinely. So this offense has to put up more points. Pickett was put into the game and starting over Trubisky in an effort to do that, and that did not occur in this game. And there are some individual plays. You can go back, the interception, the early third down play, a slant flat concept, hits Najee in the flat, probably should have hit the slant on that play. And so you could, pick apart some of those actual specific moments as well.
Which you would expect to do.
Right. Yeah. Again, this is not me trying to say Pickett sucks or anything like that. Again, I think it was a decent start. I'm not discouraged by it, but I also don't want to act like Pickett was incredible and, was this amazing game or anything like that. It was a decent game, and he battled, and I think he's a composed guy, and team and guys are going to look to him, and he has the traits of being a good leader. But this game was not some sort of an amazing, incredible. This is definitely the future, showing.
It was a good first start, and such a non-sexy adjective there, but that's how you would describe it. It was a good first start, and. Look, I mean, how if you're right to put in the fan bias there, because if we slap that stat line and tape on and changed the jersey to Mitch Trubisky, a 10, and Trubisky's name on the back of the jersey there. Fans are still calling for Pickett at this point. So, but the full context of what was on the tape, the stepping up into the pocket, the not, some of the arm strength throws that he showed in the game, the decision. How many drops were in this game, Alex? I mean, heck, you had the early one. It was a little high, but still, I mean, Deontay Johnson's got two hands on that ball.
Sure. Yep.
You got to catch that one. Deontay Johnson not getting his feet down on that other one. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it a drop, but I also wouldn't call it necessarily a poorly thrown football in that instance.
Right.
What else in here? Look, it was a third down play over there on the left-hand side where I was almost finished with a tweet that says completed to Deontay Johnson for a key third down conversion, and the other Johnson ripped the ball out from him there. I think Claypool had at least maybe one, what you'd qualify as one drop. It was in meaningless time, but I think one of those, could qualify for a drop. There maybe even be one more. I can't wait to see one of those other ones. Better angle of Claypool to see if maybe it was a drop in there. He wasn't getting a ton of help from a few of his wide receivers in this game.
Right. No, I agree.
On top of it. So, I mean, we could be looking at, I don't know, just off the top of my head, 39 of 52 in this game. What was the key trait that they talked about Kenny Pickett coming out? Accuracy, right?
Yes.
And he had that in this game.
Yeah, I thought he was generally accurate overall. I mean, again, I understand the context of receivers have to do more. Deontay did not play well. Claypool did not play well. Again, I'm not trying to hammer Pickett here. But again, 3 points was the ultimate output, and that's not obviously good enough overall. And again, some of the individual plays, missing some reads, literally ran himself into one of those sacks. Just didn't even see the Bills guy there in the second half and flushes to his right. And gets taken down. Again, I'm not discouraged by that first start, and I understand, Trubisky, not a rookie, different environment, but Pickett is pro-ready, quote unquote, and expectations are going to be set really, really high for the first-round quarterback. So I'm not trying to grade on the curve too much overall, but again, we'll see how it goes next week and over the course of the season. Not discouraged by the start, but I also just don't want to pretend like Pickett was incredible when he was probably a bit above average.
No, I'd call it a game to build on.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to phrase that. So, Dave, offensively, I probably am burying the lead here a little bit, but we have to talk about Mike Tomlin's decision-making to kick field goals in this game. 2 instances in this one. Let me try to set the stage for you guys. It's 4th and 5 at Buffalo's 15, 3:43 left in the second quarter. It's 24-3 at that moment, right? 24-3. Buffalo leading. And Mike Tomlin sends out Chris Boswell for a 33-yard attempt. And I think some football justice doing its thing as Boswell's kick is wide left on that very windy day up in Buffalo. And then in the end of the third quarter, it is, what was the score then? 31-3. I think it was 31-3. 4th and 13 at Buffalo's 27. Boswell comes out for a 45-yard field goal, and that one also goes just a bit wide to the left. Mike Tomlin asked really probably more specifically about that second one, the one at the end of the third quarter I just referenced after the game, and saying that, after the Dan Moore false start, because Tomlin did put the offense on the field for 4th and 8. There's the Dan Moore false start, makes it 4th and 13. Then Tomlin chooses to kick the field goal or attempt the field goal. And that was essentially why Tomlin decided to, in his words, decided to kick the field goal there. But overall, and especially on that first decision at the, towards the end of the second quarter, for a guy that says we don't live in our fears, there was a lot of fear living taking place on Sunday.
Yeah, what was he worried? Kenny Pickett was going to take a huge shot to his confidence by not converting a couple of fourth downs, especially that first one was it was manageable. Obviously a lot shorter than the second long fourth down, for obvious reasons, I have problems with the one in the first half, and I have problems with the one in the second half in the blowout because don't you want to challenge your players? Go make a play. Who wants to go make a play here? Yeah, we're probably not going to win this game, or you're not going to phrase it like that. But who wants to get out there and fight and make a play here? Kenny, go out there and convert this.
Sure.
What the old adage of what do you have to lose at that point? So yeah, I mean, it's hard not to take issue with either one of those decisions.
But especially the first one, because in theory, that game is still not over at that point. It's 24-3. It's looking terrible, obviously. But if you could theoretically get in the end zone there and make it 24-10, I think Pittsburgh got the ball at halftime. In theory, you could try to climb back into that one. And it's 4th and 5. And it's a windy day. And special teams has already been chaotic because of all the wind that happened, throughout the first half. So I don't understand the rationale at all for kicking the field goal in that first one. The second one, you could at least say it's 4th and 13. This game's over. Let's just try to get some points on the board. I still totally disagree with the decision, but the first one to me is entirely indefensible.
You could have helped poor Tony Romo sell his game a little bit more.
They tried, yeah. Well, they cut away from. That's how bad this game got, right? And you're. And they cut away from that game.
I have every setup imaginable in here to make sure I see Steelers games, and for about 5 minutes of the game in between, because it ended up being the local coverage game here, so I didn't even have to turn on the satellite or anything, So I was able to, I was watching the CBS, what was deemed the game of the week coverage here on regular cable CBS there, and you get into that point where they switch away from the game. I said, no problem. I'll just turn on Sunday Ticket here and go from there and turn over and because it was my local game, they black it out, on Sunday Ticket there. And I guess it took a little while for them to flip that switch for, they got switched off that game, so we got to give them access here. So I might have to send a strongly worded letter to DirecTV on that, even though I can't wait for them to get to lose Sunday Ticket and go a different route there, because that's the only damn reason I have DirecTV is for Sunday Ticket. But I'm going down a rabbit hole there.
Yeah,
but,
let's send the letter to Tomlin first before DirecTV. Yeah, kicking field goals.
Absolutely, and just two very curious decisions there, and I think for obvious reasons.
And not that I want to see Chris Boswell miss field goals ever, or this team not have put points on the board, but it felt like some instant football karma to have that uber conservative decision to kick the field goal and then miss it both times. I mean, I'm not one to call for firings. I'm not doing that here, but I don't know how you defend that moment from Mike Tomlin. It's to me, not that it, again, deciding to go for it or kicking the field goal or whatever does not change the outcome of this game. They were going to lose that game, but to me it was one of the lowest points I've seen from Mike Tomlin recently making that decision.
All right, before we switch off offense here, and talk a little bit more about the game, what are your thoughts on Najee Harris right now?
Obviously didn't play well, didn't do much yesterday. I thought the run game had been progressing prior to that game. And, early on, it was just ineffective, inefficient. And then, of course, the game script got them out of that in the second half or late in the first half. But, I thought he didn't play well, maybe missed a hole or two. I'll have to go back and check the all 22. There was a screen pass that was thrown to him that, I think normally makes that play and did not. I don't know how much that foot's still bothering him. It felt like he'd been looking relatively healthy and like his normal self to some degree. But yesterday was a pretty poor game for him and for this offense.
What do you think about the narrative that's floating around, or quote unquote, I guess, from people who observed the team practice and all like that, saying that Najee's not healthy?
I mean, I could buy it. I'm sure he's not 100%. I know he's been practicing in full and not been on the injury report for quite some time, but he dealt with that foot sprain early on, and then we still don't know exactly what happened in week 1, but I'm sure whatever he's dealing with, he's probably not fully past. It's really not been an opportunity to get fully past that. So I'm not at practice. I did see some of those comments you're referencing that he limps around. I don't know, how differently that looks from now versus last year and the normal gait that he has and things like that. But yeah, I'm sure he's still going through it. But, we're not going to make a bunch of excuses for the guy either, I guess.
Does that feel like that's what's happening, though?
I mean, it felt like we agreed. He looked pretty healthy, against the Jets and against the Browns. It didn't feel like he was looking super limited. So I don't want to say that. And then the second he has a really bad game, talk about the foot injury too much. Again, I'm sure he's not 100%. And it just got off to a really bad start this year with the injury that happened literally on the first day in pads of camp, the first carry that he had. He gets his foot stepped on, and it's kind of been, rough going from there. But I'm not trying.
And the run blocking is not top notch, obviously, but you watch these, if you pay attention and watch as many games as we do, there are a lot of backs making something out of nothing.
Yeah, he's not created nearly as much so far this year as he had last year. But again, I thought coming into this game, the run game had gotten better every single week. Najee Harris had improved as a runner every single week. And then, we'll see how it goes. I mean, yesterday's a little tough to judge because the offense was just terrible in general. Nothing really went well offensively overall. So, we'll see how it looks against the Bucs, although they're a tough and stout front as well. But yeah, Harris was not good yesterday. He was on my losers list.
Okay. What did you think about Jaylen Warren?
I mean, like I mentioned earlier, he ran hard. He finished, showed some fight and passion at the end of that game, and you appreciate that. Again, Buffalo kind of called off the dog, so it's a little bit tougher to evaluate and judge overall. But I thought Warren has been who he's been since I started watching him in training camp. Aggressive, fearless, highly conditioned, high effort kind of guy. Runs hard, tough to tackle. And I thought he looked good.
He ended up playing one more snap than Najee. I guess they just got
a blowout. Yeah, they took Najee out
of the game. But does Jaylen Warren need to be on the field more than he is in normal games?
I mean, he's playing a decent amount even when the game was competitive. I mean, he was seeing some third down reps too. I'll have to chart it or see Tom's charting whenever that comes in. But I know even that when that game was quote unquote competitive, Warren was seeing some third down time. I thought his pass protection's been excellent, and Najee Harris has been inconsistent in pass pro this year. So,
oh Lord, you got beat up for that on Twitter.
I know people really got. Do you think? Be honest. Am I in the wrong? Do you feel like I misevaluated that?
It's process. It's not in result.
Right. If he does that every single time, he will eventually allow a lot of pressures and a lot of sacks,
and it get his neck hurt.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, he literally turns his shoulder, drops his head. He's looking at the ground, and people say that's a good rep because the linebacker didn't touch Kenny Pickett.
We look at technique and process, people. I mean, you can't just look at end result all the time, and that's what you were trying to do, and that went south on you.
It did. It's been the season's been angry.
You're now a Najee hater, are you not?
I guess so.
What do you think about him overall? What do you think about him moving forward? I mean, obviously he's not going anywhere at this point, and he's not an awful back overall. But what do you think about where he's going?
I mean, I still want to be confident in the guy. I don't want to be so quick to throw him out based on what he did last year, which was really impressive overall. And he has still all the traits that this team looks for in terms of his workhorse ability. Again, he's not playing especially well right now. I thought yesterday was just a dud overall for the entire offense and stunted some of that progress the team was making. So we'll see how it looks, the next couple of weeks. I don't want to let that one game cloud or judge things too significantly, but I'm sure he's not 100% healthy and he's not played particularly well. And those things are just reality.
Okay.
Last things here for the offense quickly. The O-line run blocking, not that there was a ton of opportunities, but when they did it, it was not very good. Pass pro, I guess it was okay. I mean, the Bills got some pressure, but when they're up big and you're throwing 50 times, that's going to happen some. What'd you think about the hit on Pickett on that slide, and then James Daniels retaliating, and then the end game skirmish between Pickett and Shaq Lawson?
I had no issue. I mean, if that's Tom Brady sliding in that situation there and he gets hit like that, Tom Brady gets the flag.
Well, you saw the call they had on him yesterday,
Sure.
the Grady Jarrett. I mean, he just tackled him, and they called that
Sure.
rough on the passing.
And I don't think Hamlin was overly egregious in that situation, but I think it deserved a flag. And I have no issue whatsoever with what James Daniels did there. None. Zero.
Same here. I'm 100% with you. I thought it was not an egregious hit, wasn't it, to the helmet, but it was an illegal hit to me that should have been flagged. I thought Mike Tomlin did sum that up best, saying that, DeMar Hamlin, Pitt guy, 4-1-2er, good kid, wasn't trying to be malicious about it. I'm sure, he sees Josh Allen every day, a guy that doesn't slide too often. The Kenny Pickett fake slide may have been on Hamlin's mind for all that we know. But there's got to be a flag there. And then Daniels, show some fight, show some fire, stick up for your guy. That's what linemen do. I have no problem with what James. It'll probably cost him some money, but I have no problem with what James Daniels did.
Look, you equate it to if Sidney Crosby took a bad check on the ice, right?
Yep.
You're big guy, or probably not even all the time. Obviously, your enforcer going to come over there and mix it up a little bit there, and it's not like James Daniels totally lost his head after pushing the guy to the ground there. I mean, he tried to get himself off. I mean, he's in foreign territory
on that sideline
as it was. But you send the message back we're not going to tolerate that. And then as far as the other late in the game with Shaq Lawson, I didn't view what Shaq Lawson did as overly egregious there. But on the flip side, I don't blame Kenny Pickett for the competitiveness in coming out late in a blowout like that and saying, man, did you really have to do that? This late in the game. I took less issue with what Shaq Lawson did than what Hamlin's hit was.
Sure. I think that's, again, fair. I understand Pickett being frustrated and taking some of that anger out, I'm sure. So I'm not really upset at either guy in that moment. It just end of game, blowout, skirmish, to me, all water under the bridge. But
right. Matt Rule has been fired.
We said a while back we didn't think he was going to make it to that Week 15 game, and it's a little bit of a shock he made it this long. I mean, this Panthers team has been terrible and lifeless, and Baker Mayfield not working out. So, first firing of the year.
Yep. Okay. We done with offense overall. Once again, does Claypool look like he gets lazy in the second half of these games sometimes?
I just think he's a bad route runner overall. You're a bad route runner. You can't separate.
Was that a great example that Tony Romo used in that situation? And he kept trying to get that thing going vertical instead of running away from the defender in that situation.
Yeah, he also just slowed. It wasn't if he was vertical, he also just slowed down his route. He just stopping. Almost. Right. And that was my issue with him in the slot. I understood the idea of big slot matchup problem, but you got to be a really good route runner to be in the slot. You got to be a technical guy overall. You can't just win on size the whole time. And Claypool's a pretty sloppy route runner, and that does not lend itself to making plays in the slot.
And why aren't we seeing more of these? When you got guys like, why aren't we seeing more concerted efforts at some of these slot? I mean, some of these kind of quick slants and all.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know for sure. It's very much been a sideline type offense. I mean, how many rollout comebacks did they throw? Yesterday they threw at least 3 in the first, 3 drives. I mean, they do that. One of these times, someone's going to jump that route because they've done it so much. I mean, I can't believe nobody's. It's been semi-effective, but I can't believe nobody's jumped that yet. But it's a very, to me, kind of pared down offense with a lot of second and long rollout. It's either going to be a speed out or a curl, a kind of smash concept. And they do that 10 times a game.
And once again, when you have a rookie quarterback like this and the problems that this team has running the football and all, you've got to have your eligibles make plays. And Deontay didn't, Pickens did, and Claypool didn't. And you've got to congratulate Zach Gentry for a career day. 5 catches and 43 yards. I think both career single game highs for him.
Yeah, it's the second most catches he's ever had in a game, college or pro. So kudos there. Yeah, Deontay is the epitome of makes the tough catches look easy, makes the easy catches look tough. And I think he's a super talented guy. His route running's off the charts, but the hands, I don't know what it is. To me,
key moments, he can't make that. He can't make, he can't make those catches sometimes, and they end up being in the worst situations sometimes.
Well, yeah, two of them on third down for sure. What's most discouraging is I feel like it's not just a drop. I think it gets into his head, and he stacks bad plays and he stacks bad games. When these things come, they come in bunches. And against the Jets, he had a couple. Browns missed opportunities. Jets, I don't know if there was one or not, but these things stack on him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dave.
And he claims after the game, it doesn't get in my head. All I care is about the people here to support him and all. But you're right. He does stack. Boy, that should have been a conversion over there on that left side. And we talked a lot about the other Johnson kid and what a great player he is for Buffalo there. But even so, I mean, he made a great play obviously on that ball, but Deontay's got to tuck that away.
Yeah, that's a play Deontay needs to make, should make, can make, and did not make.
All right,
Dave. Yeah,
defensive side of the ball.
I mean, this team was overmatched coming into this game, just talent-wise, and then you deal with and not making excuses at all because the defense was bad. I mean, 38 points, enough said. But you lose Levi Wallace, you lose Cam Sutton. You're already coming into that game without Edmonds, without Witherspoon. I mean, it felt like the Chargers game last year where you just had people that felt like you should see on KDKA with Pomp and Charlie talking about the game in the fourth quarter, and you're half asleep on the couch. I mean, you're watching Josh Jackson, and I guess Elijah Riley technically didn't have a snap, but he was kind of out there almost for one play. And James Pierre is out there. Arthur Millette's on coverage downs. You get the idea. And so when you're dealing with that against Josh Allen, that's just child's play. But again, even before all that happened, the defense was still getting torched. So I'm not trying to blame this on injuries. They were just overmatched. And I give the coaching staff credit. They're trying a lot of different things. Every week they're doing something different because I chart this thing and I see the different, machinations they're rolling with, but nothing's working.
Right. And what did you think about the second home run to Gabe Davis? I thought what a sequence there, because even before that ball that Josh Allen put down the middle against the Tampa 2 there. Could you run down there and place that ball any better? Who was that? Shakir, I think, on that one?
That was. That was Khalil or Khalif or whatever his name is. It's a rookie out of Boise State.
Yeah, I mean, and look, I realize, and look, Devin Bush did not have a great game there. But, I mean, what else do you want him to do there?
Yeah, it's a tough play for him, for sure. But somebody's got to compete at the catch point. And nobody did.
He obviously didn't there, but I mean that was a fine looking ball in that situation there. I mean, sometimes we forget the other guys are paid to play too, right? The home run ball to the other one to Gabe Davis. He said Josh Allen said he thought he saw Mika a little bit flat footed. In all that, if that's flat footed, Mika still was able to get himself in a pretty decent damn position down the field there. But once again, that ball could not have been really kind of placed any better in that situation there. And he took it away from Minka in the end zone.
Not that I take joy in watching the Steelers get scored on, but you do have to just kind of appreciate watching Josh Allen throw the deep ball. I mean, just the way he uncorks it, the way the ball explodes off his arm. I don't know if I've seen a quarterback do it quite like that to that degree. What they said the air yardage from that one was 65 yards.
I don't think it was quite that. Even from launch point, I think it was like 62. Wasn't it? Wasn't it like from like the 34 or 36 to the 9 or 8?
I'd have to go back and look. I'm just going off of what Twitter said, which is always reliable.
I went back last night to look at it, and I thought but I mean, Jesus.
Still 62. We're splitting hairs.
Yeah. I mean, he can, like I said at the top of the show, he can throw that ball over that there mountain.
He's Uncle Rico.
He's got it. And especially when you look, the elephant in the room here, man. This team cannot get any kind of pressure. I think was officially credited on the stat sheet with one quarterback hit in that game, and that was Minka Fitzpatrick.
And that was on the 98-yard touchdown, I'm pretty sure.
Right. And you just, when we talk when the Steelers talk about rush and coverage go hand in hand, if you don't have that rush, your coverage gets out of hand. And especially when you're down a couple players in the second, but even in the first half there, you're not getting the pressure. And then you have situations where you do try to blitz on occasion, and the tight end leaks out to a wide open situation over there. And you have other instances where you have Robert Spillane lined up wide on singled up on the tight end. Now, to Spillane's credit, he got an ass defense in
pass defense.
Pass defense. I mean ass defense in that situation there. And you have other ones where you have Highsmith standing up out there in the slot, right? Then you're taking your best pass rusher and not on a play and not giving an opportunity to rush the passer there. Malik Reed's trash. There, I said it.
Yeah, he's a small edge rusher. Those guys don't work in Pittsburgh, not against the run and not much against the passer. To the second Gabe Davis touchdown that you asked about, the 62-yarder, I mean, just a great throw, great play. Minka had good coverage, but just couldn't finish the play. And that's what it comes down to. You got to finish the play. It's a tough one to make, but one he can make and one he did not make. I thought, it was cover 3. It looked like Allen did a good job looking left, kind of holding Minka, who was a little bit shallow in this game, or on that play. The safeties kind of were playing shallow in this game overall. And then Minka had a speed turn to get back in face. It's right there, but Davis finishes the play. So, I mean, that just tip of the cap to Buffalo, and Minka just could not finish that play. But overall, yeah, no pass rush, 0 sacks in this game, 1 quarterback hit. On that Davis touchdown, it was only a 3-man rush, by the way. They're dropping 8, and they're playing single highs. That was kind of weird to play single high, cover 3 by dropping 8 on that play.
They tried to mix it up.
They did. They blitzed a fair amount. I mean, I'm not super critical of the game plan itself, I guess, but nothing worked. I mean,
you didn't have the talent to be able to pull any of it off. You there. You had a couple of nice plays, I think, early by Millette coming in, making a run stop, and I think Highsmith, and you couldn't in key situations too. Talked about knowing that you have a quarterback in Josh Allen that's more than willing to take off with the football, either on a design run or just the seas parting and all like that. And they didn't have any answer for that whatsoever. In that, I mean, he was able to win with his legs just as easy. And we did also, I think, talk about coming out of that Baltimore game that a couple of times in that Baltimore game, some balls went up in the air, whether they be deflected or off an eligible's hands, and how important it was that if and when that did happen in the game against the Steelers, that they better end up in the Steelers' hands, and none of those did. What about that late touchdown to Shakir there with Josh Jackson in coverage? I mean, it wasn't that great of a thrown ball, and it was kind of lollipopped on top of it. When in real time, I thought to myself, man, can't Jackson make a better play on that?
Yeah, he could have. But he's Josh Jackson. When was the last time he played football, in terms of defensive snaps? And again, not excusing it, but you have a lack of talent out there. And he's in the slot. He's already probably a bit uncomfortable playing in the slot on that play. They did a lot of 3-by-1 with receivers to the 3-receiver side, the trip side, and Jackson not making a play.
Right. And once Sutton left, and look, Levi Wallace had a hell of an interception. Let's make sure.
Yeah.
We don't.
And a good coverage on Diggs on that deep ball.
Right. Now he did get turned around on that other one that Josh Allen missed on Diggs. Diggs faked the post and then took it back outside, and Josh Allen just missed it.
Yeah, in the end zone. Yeah.
That
was a great route. Diggs is a top 3 route runner in football.
Phenomenal. And once you started losing once Levi got crushed on that.
It was at the right tackle or someone.
Yeah, he got bulldozed on that.
Was he woozy? Did he look like he stumbled?
Yeah, he did.
I
think the replay showed that.
When trainers were attending to him, I saw him get up, and then I think he kind of sat back down, and so that's that gross instability that the NFL is now adhering to.
Right, and when you're down, you're already down. Edmonds going into that game, and Witherspoon. You just and Sutton leaves. It just stacks on you when you have a situation where Pierre and Josh Jackson are back there, and you're asking Norwood to do middle of the field stuff, and it got out of hand quickly there. It wasn't going to be great if all those guys played the full game either. Once again, if you're not able to get coverage or when you send numbers and you're not able to at least knock the guy down or get a hit on him, it's going to make a long day against those receivers. I thought they called offensively. Dorsey just did an incredible job of because you don't know, they tried to disguise it as best as they could, and then that gets into the hand, gets onto the opposing quarterback, and knowing what he sees and know where the football should go. And once again, you're not getting pressure on him. He'll rip you to shreds, and that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, 300 yards by halftime, finished with 424, second most ever by a quarterback in a game against the Steelers. The only second to Tom Brady, who the Steelers see in Week 6. That'll be something. The upside to the holding your coverage is you're trying to disguise it for the quarterback. The downside is sometimes you as a defense can be late to stuff because you're trying to hold and disguise stuff to the very last second. And I thought that hurt them, especially when that gave Davis 98-yard touchdown. DeMarvin Leal, bright spot in this one, a couple of pass deflections. They actually had him play an off-ball linebacker a couple of snaps in this game. It was on a specific blitz package where he would loop in from his off-ball position. So a guy they like to move around and is a really good athlete overall for the position. Thought Cam Hayward played well in terms of run defense, getting off of blocks, blocking that kick, was good as well. But as a pass rusher,
he had two people on him.
Yeah, the hustle. he had a tackle 23 yards downfield. So again, even in this drought of pass rush production, Hayward has not played poorly, but you're not seeing him win on those possession downs and getting an impact on the quarterback and stuff like that. So you feel for the guy, but you're still looking for that out of him. But again, just to your point, or the point that I made, this defense, not enough talent. There was some creativity as a coaching staff. They blitzed more. I thought they would blitz in this game. Mike Tomlin basically said as much coming into this game that they would be more aggressive, and they were, but it rarely worked again. No sacks, one. When was the last time they had a game in which they had no sacks and one quarterback hit? I'm not even sure.
Yeah, and I'm trying to. They gave up 11 explosive plays, Alex.
God. Oh my God! Is that when was the last time that happened?
I tried
Chargers game last year. Chargers game,
and not even. Not even that many. I did a quick kind of dirty search on, because it doesn't let you search by game, just total explosive plays. At least I don't think, right? Or does it?
What you're trying to do? Stat head?
Yeah.
What are you looking under? Gameplay Finder?
Yeah, gameplay finder. Does it break it down by single game?
You can do it by week. You can't. You could. It's kind of take some extra steps.
It's label. Yeah.
Well, you could just. What you could do is just have it for a season and then just sort by date and just scroll down.
Right. I did that too.
Okay.
And once again, it was quick and dirty, but I think I went back to 2007 or so, and I can't find an instance where they gave up 11, even 10 explosive plays of 20 yards or more in one game.
Wow. I'm sure it's up there for sure. The Bills are just a flat out, not just a better team, but a much better team.
And they left like two explosive plays on the table.
They should have had 50. They had the shovel pass that was fumbled, the interception. A missed field goal or a block field goal. They could have easily put 50 on Pittsburgh.
That drop over there to the right side by that fourth string wide receiver over there that was wide open. That should have been had there on top. So it could have been worse. And then the missed touchdown to Diggs and the missed the block field goal and the fumble at the and who got that? That was. Who was credited
on the goal line?
Yeah.
They said Hayward. Let me see what the box score actually says. The broadcast, I thought it was Miles Jack, but
I thought they credited it to the wrong person there. I didn't go back to see if they changed it.
they're according to PFR, it still says Cam Hayward getting the forced fumble.
Did he get that though? Was that him?
It was a hard angle to see, but I'll have to go back and check. Right. I did not get a good look at the mess of bodies down there. Yeah, it really doesn't.
It only matters to us, I guess, because just weren't wanting to know there. But all right, what else about the defense? What happened on the big run there? Was that Ryan Anderson getting caught outside and not being in the gap in the inside there?
I'll have to check. I was just kind of going through the charting last night. I know Montravius Adams kind of got washed and he's trying to spin around and lost vision on the football. I'm not putting that all on him. I have to go back and check it. But, I mean, it was just a defense that was worn down, and I don't want to say given up, but they were kind of waving the white flag.
Okay, the thing in the locker room after the game, thoughts? Evidently set it up.
Yeah, according to the PPG's Ray Fittipaldo, obviously the reporters in the locker room after the game for the scrum, and according to Fittipaldo, Arthur Millette was in his locker room and then walked out in the middle of the locker room and was just kind of going on a rant and venting about the team, evidently laughing and smiling and just having a happy attitude on the sidelines as they're getting beat 38-3. So Millette taking issue with the team's or some specific players' attitude and smiling and laughing as his team's getting pummeled by Buffalo. And Millette did not speak to reporters after the game. Evidently, according to Fittipaldo, players are trying to calm Millette down because reporters were in the room who may report on things, as Fittipaldo did. So I've not been able to see evidence of that. I assume Millette's probably accurate in that accusation to his teammates, and that's fair. You want to see guys that care and not laugh and smile when you're getting the crap kicked out of you. So I mean, it's frustration. I'm sure it'll all smooth over, but I mean, that's the report.
Who would you have liked to have seen give more effort in this game, especially in the second half? Who wins the low effort award?
I'll have to go back and check the tape to be able to uncover that answer.
First blush.
I mean, I don't know if there was one player. I mean, Deontay just struggled. I don't know if it was an effort thing. Claypool I don't know if it's an effort thing or just kind of who he is overall. I don't want to say that anybody really that I saw. I mean, do you have an answer? Is there somebody that you thought was getting low effort?
Mine would have and once again, this is just off three TV tape watches. I would say Claypool would have been my first answer.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll have to go back and check. To Millette, it didn't sound like he was saying guys weren't giving effort. He just didn't like the guys were laughing and smiling on the sideline as they're getting just rolled on. So I'll have to go back and check because for me, I know questioning effort, not that I wouldn't do it, but it's a really weighty, heavy accusation to make. And so I'm really careful when I talk about effort and care and things like that.
Who wins the high effort award of the game?
I think Pickett, Warren are probably the top two that come to mind. Cam, I mean, Cam always plays, all out. Probably those names.
All right. Where are we now?
Just a quick note on special teams. Boswell won a 3, only the third career game in which he's missed 2 field goals. Obviously, A, they shouldn't have happened, and B, the wind was a factor. It is a bit hard to judge special teams just given the windy circumstances. Presley Harvin, 26-yarder. That was into the wind, though, I think. Is that into the wind or not?
I don't remember. I think it might have been, but even so, didn't their punter uncork one from like 45 into the wind or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, Harvin didn't punt well, but maybe the weather gives him a bit of a pass overall. James Pierre did have a nice play to keep the ball out of the end zone on what ended up being a 69-yard punt by Harvin. Again, the Pierre fumble, the block field goal. I mean, that's basically it.
All right. No stone unturned, Alex.
Yeah, we tried to cover it. Probably gave it more breath than we should.
Mike Tomlin, no stone.
Oh.
We're going to be turning over the stones once again. And I'm not talking about Mick or Keith or the Rolling Stones either.
Right. Yeah, Tomlin.
Or Fred and Barney or Wilma or anything like that. He's kind of asked point blank, does that include, coaching staff, personnel and all like that? And he He didn't shut it down, but is that just typical Tomlin? Or because here's what happens now. He didn't shoot it down. If you don't make any changes on the coaching staff, then they say, once again, it gets framed like he just all talk,
I mean,
the
expecting any
obvious
coaching changes? Like this week?
I mean, based on history, your instant answer would be no. But
right. I mean, if there is, as you're getting at, it would be Canada.
I mean, it's obvious, but and I know people are. I guess here's the thing: no issue at all if they did if Canada was out. But we have agreed for several weeks now that it would be Mike Sullivan if that happened, right?
Yes, I mean 100%. There's literally no one else you would turn to.
How much different would things be if that happened?
Well, I know we've had this conversation before, and obviously it's not going to be an entirely new playbook, and the offense is not going to magically become this 30-point juggernaut of a machine, but I think things could be better. I think this offense has a lot of problems, but it is so stale, it is so pared down, and I think, the first thing you look at when you make these decisions is not just how much better will it be, but how bad is it right now? And is that change warranted? And if it is, and that's really all that matters, and you make the change and you see whatever comes about it from there. But I mean, I'm not going to pretend like this offense is going to become incredible, but is moving on from Canada warranted? Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah, it is. But we'll see now. Keep praying, people.
I mean, if they're going to make the change, it's going to happen like today. I mean, I wouldn't even say tomorrow.
Right. You wouldn't. I mean, you got to get this out of the way. Get working towards what you're going to do.
Right. And it's not something you do on a Wednesday.
Right.
Because you're building your game plan now. You're working on the Bucs, and your coaching staff's coming together to start, going through tape study of the Bills game and then beginning to formulate your game plan so you can present it on a Wednesday when the players come back into work. So if it's going to happen, it's going to happen today. It's going to happen within. By the time people listen to this, we should know if a change gets made. I don't anticipate one happening this week.
Then what does that say if none happens? What does it say about Tomlin's response to a direct question like that?
I think that was just kind of your typical coach answer of, whenever you get beat 38-3, you don't want to say, no, we're not going to make any. You don't want to say, no, we're not making any changes, because that's a bad answer, but you don't want to sit there and necessarily say, yes, we will make changes, because then you're really, putting your feet to the fire on that one. So I think Tomlin's response is, we're going to look and evaluate everything, because everything needs to be evaluated and looked at when you lose by 35 points.
Pass protection.
Again, I thought it was decent for throwing 50 times against a strong Bills rush on the road whenever you have no run game and all the circumstances. I know Moore got beat once and Pickett ran himself into a sack, but I felt like it was okay.
I did as well too. We'll have to see what the end zone view of the run blocking. I mean, not great, but
sure it was bad. Yeah. They got to do a better job at the second level. I feel like even coming into this game, they were doing a good job. First level blocks, securing those, getting movement, but linebackers was still free. They really weren't climbing and sticking to the second level. And that was the next step this offensive line needed to take as a run blocker. Again, just to go back to really quickly with the Canada thing, you could make that switch though, because if you fire Canada and move Sullivan to OC, you also have David Corley, who could become more of your quarterbacks coach. So Sullivan isn't quite pulling as much double duty. I mean, he'd still be involved in the quarterbacks, obviously, but you would have some flexibility there.
And then what do? Go into the playbook and change some route combinations and just the overall situational calling?
Yeah, again, it would be a bit more on the margins than wholesale changes, but just how you call things in game, the flow that you get into and stuff like that. I mean, I think, you would see a difference there.
And maybe the game planning ahead of time of what to expect and what you're going to call about what you see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Sullivan is highly involved in the game plan to begin with to build it, and Canada just calls it on game day. So I don't know if that would change so much, but I think Sullivan's a good coach, a good offensive mind. I know his track record as an OC is not fantastic, but probably, it's better than what Canada has.
At least if you did do that, you could at least get in a situation this early in the season where you could find out whether or not Sullivan, in other words, because if you waited till after the season with Canada and then did it, then you are in a situation where you're going to go the whole next season with Sullivan, whereas you could get a better sense of, do we need to move on from Sullivan as the OC if we did it this year that way?
Fair.
You know?
At the least, should Canada at least come down from the booth and be on the sideline and be in the action? I'm not pretending like that's going to make some sort of massive change.
I don't think it matters.
Okay.
We'll see. I don't think it matters, really.
I mean, it probably doesn't, but if you're just trying to think about changes that could occur that don't involve firings, I'm just spitballing ideas. Again, I'm not pretending like the offense is going to come out of its shell because Canada is now on the sidelines, but he is up in the booth. That is removed, and I don't love coordinators being upstairs. That's just my personal thing.
Dorsey's upstairs, ain't he?
Dorsey has Josh Allen.
Okay,
that's fair. But fair point. You shut me down on that one. I'll give you that one.
7-point home dogs to the Buccaneers.
Has that ever happened before in terms of home underdogs? On the 14-point dogs on the road.
I'm sure Brady was associated with it.
Let me try to check here. That's also a fair point. You're on a roll here, Dave. Keep going.
We're blessed to watch a lot of football, aren't we? Over the years there. And this is going to be a long injury list this week, I would imagine here. And it feels it. I mean, it's obviously way early, but it feels like it'd be a surprise if Freiermuth plays in this game. I don't know how serious Edmonds' situation is. Sutton,
he did make the trip, whatever it's worth.
Yeah, Sutton has battled that kind of hamstring / groin here for a couple weeks, and obviously with Levi Wallace in the protocol, and it's not looking good, Bob.
No, this team's going to be even more beat up going into this game. I'm trying to see last time Pittsburgh. I'm trying to get the spread here right, and I can't get it. But yeah, this team's really battered and bruised, and they're facing a Bucs team that has a really strong defense, and of course Tom Brady.
I guess if there's any kind of bright side in this, is that there's only one team in the AFC North with a winning record right now, and that would be the Ravens, and they're technically just 2 games ahead of the Steelers, who are in last. So I guess if you're going to try to paint any positive within that, it would be that man, if you could get 2 of these wins somehow, some way, act of God, and then get TJ Watt back after the bye. And in the process, Kenny Pickett grows a little bit there. I guess that's the only kind of fanboy look at it, if you will.
I believe I've inputted this correctly, and Dave, you would be correct, sir. As you say, last time Pittsburgh were 7.5-point dogs at home. It's only happened once, and that was in 2016. Actually, let me make sure I have that as once.
Was that week 1 or no?
No, it wasn't the 33-3 game. This was in 2016. Let me just double check here real quick. Hold on. All right, I'm not going to get it fully here, but the last time Pittsburgh 7.5-point home dogs was 2016 against the Patriots, which was Tom Brady, and they lost that game. It's happened a couple times before. In 91 against Houston, they were 7-point dogs. Also in 91 against Washington, and got blown out that game. But 2016, so when Tom Brady comes to Pittsburgh, the Steelers are 7.5-point dogs.
In full disclosure, it wasn't hard for me to guess that.
That's also fair.
Okay.
But this will be the third time in Steelers history they were 7.5-point dogs at home. It's 91 against the Oilers, and they won that game. Pittsburgh did 26-14, and 2016 against the Patriots lost that game.
All right, what are you most excited to look at on the tape?
I don't know about that. It's a dangerous question to ask.
Just watching Pickett. Have you? Did you chart it? Yeah.
I don't have it in the spreadsheet, but it's almost done. Yeah, it's only 45, 50 plays. So I got it done last night, basically. So
yeah, so you get half pay this week, right?
I'm entitled to financial compensation.
Not attorney spokesman.
Right. But what am I looking for? I mean, you always, even in losses that suck, there's a level for me that's cathartic to go back and watch and see what happened, and just to learn and things like that. So you're always trying to watch and learn. And see what guys had the effort and kind of ran through the tape in a really bad loss. But watching Pickett's first start, of course, will be a lot to dissect, and that's probably it.
All right, we got way too many emails here. Let's see here. Let us start with what is Brandon says, what did we expect? Deontay Johnson was 3 of 11 receiving. Bless his heart, but Najee can't accelerate. In fairness, it may be that foot, ? He said, I'd like to hear what Dr. Mel thinks of him 2001 versus 2022. He says, where is Chase Claypool? Would a different OC really resolve all those issues? Number 4, Kenny Pickett, love the attitude, brother, but whisper to your offensive lineman, get number 90. Nobody wants to see you mix it up with guys benching 500 to 700 pounds. He says the announcing sucked as bad as the officiating. When it's 31-3, it's over, Tony. I'm not going to address too much in there because we've got so many of these in here. Brian Lando writes in first, thanks for the honest, thoughtful, and thorough insight every week. The Steelers Depot crew is the best in the biz, and it's not even close. 2 questions. Please, if you answer them on the podcast, then feel free to ignore. Najee was never a home run hitter, but he'd often make people miss and break tackles. It doesn't seem like he's doing either this year. Is it health, performance, or a little bit of both? And at the end, are we sure Warren doesn't provide more all-around ability at this point? Or let me ask it this way, what does he do better than Warren at this point? That's question number 1. Number 2, by most accounts, Brian Flores is an elite defensive mind. I was so excited. We had top-tier coach added to the staff. Was hopeful that he'd fix some of 2021 issues, but it seems our defense has regressed every week. What is Flores' role, and do you have any insight why we seem to be out-coached so much on the defensive side? Do we just not have the talent, or is it scheme or coaching also to blame? This can't be good for a head coaching prospect. Right. Thanks for all your hard work. Look, Brian, I mean, just the personnel that they had out on that field yesterday, even before the injury, just wasn't enough. And as Alex and I have said, they tried to do a lot of different things in that game, but when you're not getting the pass rush and alone, you're going to set your back end up for failure. And they got blistered by a very good quarterback.
Yeah, it's not for lack of trying. Pittsburgh's doing a lot, personnel grouping schematically. That probably does come with unintended consequences, though, that, whenever you're trying to add all these new things and work them kind of on the fly, you kind of realize some things work, some things don't. Oh, yeah, we got to worry about this thing, teams exploit this, stuff like that. Lack of talent, not to excuse it all. There have been some schematic stuff and things I didn't like, but I think it's less of a schematic issue on defense, and it is just lack of talent, lack of execution overall. In terms of Harris, Warren, yeah, I think Warren's played well. His role has been growing and getting better. Ball security is still a bit of a thought and something that probably has limited him a little bit in trying to get, full trust of the coaching staff. But I think his role will continue to kind of crystallize, and, he's looked good when given the chance.
Let's see here. Back to the email machine we go. Did we get the first part of that talking about Najee and all? We talked a lot about Najee in this show.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it there at the end.
Michael Galoppo, despite Tomlin's post-game press conference hints, do you guys think coaching changes will actually be made? I know there's not much precedence for firings mid-season, but I think I'd rather see Mike Sullivan and Brian Flores as the OC and DC the rest of the season. Look, nothing's going to I don't think anything's going to happen to Austin or anything like that. Once again, the town, they're lacking some key players and have injuries on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, once again, we just talked about this in the offensive coordinator. I mean, you can make obviously great points for Canada being gone at this point, and it's just a matter of if it will happen or not. And historically, it tells you that it won't. But then you have Tomlin saying all options technically are on the table here. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to be floored from a performance standpoint if Canada gets canned right now. But as Alex said, if it doesn't happen by the end of, it's already 11:45 Eastern time right now, right? And players are going to be coming into the locker room and all like that. And you would think if something's going to happen with Canada, it's going to happen fairly soon, right?
Very soon. Yeah. Assuming that does not happen, that there aren't any coaching changes in terms of firings, Tomlin also asked about players and what could change there. What shuffling could happen from a personnel standpoint? That's probably the more relevant question.
I mean, offense, how much more can you do? I mean, you're not going to make any changes, I don't think, on the offensive line right now. No. I'd like to see Warren out there a little bit more. Look, if Najee is indeed not where he needs to be from a physical standpoint, health standpoint, then you need to get Warren out there more. You might need to get Warren out there more, even if because he gives you more pop, more chance of an explosive play than Najee does. So offensively, I mean, look, what's going to happen when Calvin Austin gets back? Who's going to be the guy that's gone? His logic tells you it's probably going to be Sims or Gunnar Olszewski that gets cut, right?
Yeah, they're not going to keep both of those guys,
especially with injuries right now. And Freiermuth, are you going to have to elevate a guy?
Yeah, they won't have to make a 53 move on that. You can just elevate,
right? And elevate that backup tight end that they have on the practice squad right now. So you could probably do that on game days. But I mean, other than Jaylen Warren getting more playing time and Calvin Austin getting his teeth cut finally on offense to some, Calvin Austin's not going to come in and play 45 snaps for you.
Is he even going to play against the Bucs? Is he going to be ready?
I don't know. I think if he's anywhere close, you got to try to.
I get that.
You got to dress him and get him out there and get him going in this thing.
Yeah, defensively, anything you do right now, injuries are kind of limiting you from doing stuff.
I'm putting a helmet on Mark Robinson now.
Okay.
At this point,
what role are you giving a defensive role?
I put him in Bush's place. I put Bush on special teams, or at least I'd get him out there in Spillane's. You got to get that guy helmet out on the field, running around. I think to some degree, and if that means Spillane being inactive, then okay, then that's what it is. And maybe you're not going to do something with him and playing him 40-something snaps a game, but I mean, you got to get him out there cutting his teeth. I think. And
I hear that.
Anything else? I mean, what else can you do with the secondary? What else can you do at outside? I mean, I don't see really any other changes that you can make for several reasons there.
Well, that's the thing, because what changes do you make after getting the doors blown off you? You're 1-4. Well, we'll play the backup running back a little bit more. We'll get the rookie receiver out there for 15 snaps, and we'll dress the 7th round rookie to thump on special teams. It's all around the margins. It's not materially changing a whole lot.
Right. And we'll see what happens with Larry Ogunjobi. Maybe that results in Loudermilk getting a helmet, but that's not going to help you from a pass rush standpoint.
Right. Yeah. And it's not something that you're intentionally doing. It's something you're doing because there's an injury there. So, I mean, I'm sure there'll be some small changes, but I mean, they're 1-4. We're talking about draft picks. For me, it's a weird feeling. That's my terrible take today. It's a weird feeling to be in a team that's bad, not just average or underachieving or frustrating, just a bad team. It's going to stay bad. Even
take every guy right now, every guy on this roster under contract right now, and that includes IR and everything. And if they were 100% healthy right now, this team still looks lacking, feels lacking.
They would be. Yeah, they wouldn't be 1-4. I think they'd be at least 2-3. They at least beat the Jets, but that's all. It's all moot.
Right. When you look ahead to next year's draft right now and all like that, it feels like this team needs so much to me right now, Anyway, Michael Hewlett writes in, "Hi guys, Michael Hewlett here. I'm coming out swinging, Dave and Alex. We need to target an inside defensive lineman and an inside offensive lineman early in the draft. He says D-line is shite. Now, is it me or does Najee lack vision? P.S. Pickens should never leave the field, he says. Thanks for your time. Love the show. Great work, Mike from Cali. Not going to really address too much of that. I mean, we'll take those as comments. Cosmo Moore, that was depressing. Hey, Dave and Alex, how do you guys watch the game? What is your game day setup? Multiple TVs, laptop. I don't know how you guys do it. I can barely keep up just watching the game and following you guys on Twitter. I mean, I have multiple TVs going and, really kind of one on Red Zone and really when Steelers game starts. I mean, that gets my focus, and I obviously pay attention to stats and replays and anything that comes across Twitter. So, I just have learned to kind of process a lot quicker over the years, and that is probably the only thing I multitask well at, to be honest with you, in my life, period.
My setup's far less impressive. Just one sad television, one laptop, and that's all I got.
Luis Diaz, hi from Mexico. Do you see any logic or process on when Tomlin decides to go for it on fourth down instead of trying field goals or punting? Versus the Jets, they had a 4th and 1 at around the Jets 40 and they punted. Then with the game still close, he decided to go for it with Pickett from their own 30-yard line. Yesterday, kicking those, losing by 21 is stupid, but I can't find any decision process in general. When to go for it? Have you been able to, or seems to be not an actual process? It's gut with Tomlin.
Yep. He's a gut guy. That's why it's hard to predict. We can't predict it. It's all based off of just what he's feeling in that moment.
Ryan Roberts, what if I were to tell you the Buffalo Bills began 2 drives inside their own 10-yard line, threw a pick in the end zone, fumbled the ball to the Steelers in the end zone, and had a blocked field goal, and Kenny Pickett threw for 300 yards, and the Bills won by 35 points. 4 touchdown drives of 3 plays or less. I live in Big 12 country, and that is embarrassing even by our standards. The team has more holes than a golf course, even without the injuries. I watched a lot of banged-up teams compete this weekend. Despite injuries, the Bills were down several starters too. When well-coached teams hit bottom, face adversity, with bad teams, they just keep digging. I feel like Tomlin should have stood on the sideline with a shovel in his hand this week. Thanks for being the most informative, timely, and accurate site out there so far. The Steelers, 2022 Steelers don't deserve you. Ryan from Tulsa. Ryan, hard to argue with much that Ryan said, huh?
Yeah. Thank you for the kind words. That's really all I have to say.
I think that kind of plays into my comment there that even 100% healthy, this team looks like they're healthy. My hope is if this team gets a top 5 draft pick, they deal that sucker off for multiple picks, man, because I feel right now this team could use them at a lot of different areas. Chandler Stroud, one last one here. Morning, fellas. More doom and gloom, obviously, today, but I've got a quick two-parter today. I'd like to talk about the receiving threat and tight end overall that Zach Gentry has become. Initially through Kenny's early playing phase, it seems to like that big body kind of floating around the middle of the field, and he's really developing good soft hands that, frankly, and knock on wood, he doesn't drop balls, so he's becoming the tight end slowly that we said he wouldn't be coming out of the 2019 draft. Secondly, first of all, the fact that we are sitting here in Zach Gentry's the new Ritz cracker, that's alarming. Do you think
anyone gets the Ritz cracker joke anymore, or is it just become Steelers lore, Steelers Depot lore? Okay,
it's just they probably just think us being silly, but which we are, but that's not going anywhere. Secondly, what are your initial thoughts of overall play of Devin Bush? My gut reaction, one blitz, he just ran right by Josh Allen, and I know it's Josh Allen, but get a hand on him.
Right, that's my thought. At least touch the guy.
Play 2-hand tag or something there. He says it feels from the naked eye that he's very inconsistent. I feel early he's played the run very well, but seems to be invisible when it comes to plays out in space. Side note, Miles Jack seems to be making plays for both of them as he kind of plays covering ground all over the field. As always, thank you guys for absolutely best, most objective experience in Steelers coverage. Look, I mean, there are times it does feel like Miles Jack is even trying to do the proverbial, as Keith Butler would you say, Do your job. Don't try to do somebody else's job. And I think sometimes it feels like sometimes Miles Jack is trying to do too much. I would like to see Miles Jack out there with a very Ryan Shazier type player out there. I'll tell you that thought has crossed my mind. Devin Bush is not long for this team, period.
Yeah, I think he has gotten better in terms of being more physical at the point of attack, taking on blocks. I think actually, and maybe I'm just overthinking it, he actually looks like a worse athlete this year. I think his sideline to sideline play has been almost regressing, or at least not better than where it was last season coming off the injury. So I feel like he certainly lost some of that sideline to sideline movement that he had coming out of Michigan. If
that tight end doesn't make that fabulous call in there, I mean that should have been a hold on Devin Bush though, right?
I'm sorry, which play is that?
The one that tight end made that phenomenal outstretched catch in the middle field
on the in-breaking route. Yeah, that was Morris. That I like that keeping in a Bowling Green. Yeah, Bush was grabbing.
Wasn't he the guy that didn't the Steelers have some sort of kind of? Yeah, didn't I point out that guy on Twitter or something? Or didn't we have a small little talk about that?
I like this kid. I think we had a report on him. I want to.
Yeah, wasn't he a little bit undersized at like 6'2" or something?
Let me try to.
Can you pull it up here? If that's the guy I'm thinking of.
That's who you're thinking of. Yeah, let me make sure I get his name spelled right so I can search for it. But
I found the draft report right here. Yeah, we did have.
I wrote that, right?
Was that Quentin Morris?
Yeah, that Bowling Green kid. Yeah. I wrote the report, and I liked him coming out.
6'2", 243. So 6'2". And the fact that the Steelers drafted an undersized guy in Connor Hayward, yeah, that guy looked pretty decent in that game.
Yeah, they were at his pro day. I wrote, so I don't know what interest there was beyond that.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, Bush. Bush has, never been great in coverage, never been technical, and now the athleticism to me is just average.
All right, we're almost 2 hours into this thing. We beat it up pretty good at this point here. So we apologize. We'll try to get to some. We got a lot of emails in here, Alex. Like I said, we just don't have time to hit them all. And I'm very sorry about that because I know we asked for emails, but please understand that we've got to get to all 22 tape, and this is already nearly a 2-hour show. I already answered a lot of questions in here, and so we apologize for that. So anything you'd like to add before we get out of here, Alex?
I mean, I'm sorry for being all negative, but when you lose 38-3,
I tried to throw a couple of small, tiny positives in there, but it was ass kicking. I mean, they were outmatched, and what's sad about it was they were outmatched, and the Bills weren't even. They were missing several key players in this game.
Sure, yeah. While Pittsburgh had injuries, Buffalo had even more coming into that game, and so no excuses there. Again, like I said, coming off the Jets' loss was look for the glimmers of hope, the building blocks of the future. Pickett, Pickens, defensively a couple of pieces. That's what I'll be trying to keep positive about the rest of the way.
The Bills had only allowed 7 points in the second half of games going into this game, and obviously did not give up any to the Steelers in the second half.
Was this loss worse, or was the Bengals loss last year worse? It was also 31-3 at halftime.
This one felt a lot worse because all you have to do is throw those 11 explosive plays at me.
I think they're both terrible. Obviously, I think last year's was just worse because it's the Bengals and losing to the Bengals. But either way, the fact we're having that conversation about which blowout loss was worse over the last 2 years sums up where this team is at.
Alex, I just want to take your temperature real quick. Are running backs fungible?
Oh man, we're doing this thing at 2 hours in. I understand your assessment and point of the nature of the fungibility nature of the position. I think there may be a little bit less
fungibility in the first round.
I mean, are you talking just big picture or in Pittsburgh?
Big picture.
I think there are two different things. Big picture, probably yes. I think Pittsburgh's unique in the sense of having that workhorse mentality. And again, while I understand there are lots of examples of, undrafted guys that have, played well and contributed. Look at some of the best backs in football. They're not always first round picks, but they're high round picks. Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, top 3 backs in football. They were all high draft picks, not first round, but still second round capital, still a high investment. I don't think that satisfies the fungibility requirement. So okay. I think in Pittsburgh, because of the workhorse mentality, there's a little bit of difference in terms of how Pittsburgh values the position.
Ryan Clark, we're not yet to 2 hours. One last one from Dan Devlin. Hello, fellas. I saw Ryan Clark's hot take about the Steelers quitting and thought I would throw out a few of my own. Please remind me which coordinator we are supposed to be getting rid of. Number two, look, once again, I'm not going to go to bat for the defense and Austin, all these guys and all like that, but they did try to do different things in there. They just didn't have the personnel to do it with, is what it comes down to against the Bills.
Yep. That's what it comes down to.
Play where Kenny Pickett had some heat, danced in the pocket prior to throwing to Muth or DJ. Is it typically bad to have two receivers within a few feet of each other as the pass arrives? Correct. Do you remember which one that was? Dancing in the pocket, throwing to Muth or DJ?
That was the one that was over the middle. Is that to Claypool or DJ to Johnson? I know which play he's talking about.
Claypool, and it got tipped, and then I don't remember. No, that wasn't the play.
No, this was one over the middle. It was a curl by Freiermuth that kind of whizzed past him, and then either Johnson or Claypool dove for it. I mean, I wouldn't call those in the same area. That wouldn't
cutting routes from different levels.
Yeah, I don't think that. There are other examples of guys being too bunched up, but I would not consider that. Now, I don't know who Pickett was throwing to on that play. I think there was a little bit of weirdness there, but I don't know if the route concept was terrible.
Do you think Deontay Johnson should ask Ike Hilliard for his tennis balls back? Ike Hilliard's been gone. I assume he knows that, but
yeah, I guess that's a joke. I don't know.
Yeah. What did you think about? Who do you think quit in the game? We already did the low effort thing, but did they quit or were they just outgunned?
No, I don't think they quit. I mean, Pickett didn't quit. They just not a good team. Just don't have talent. Had a lot of injuries. Faced a Super Bowl, favorite. That's what happens.
All right. You can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. You got some hate mail to send our way or any questions or don't think that we cover this objectively enough. The Terrible Podcast at gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate to the cause, SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button up right navigational bar. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button up right navigational bar. For this team being in the crapper like they are right now, tremendous traffic day on the site yesterday. So we appreciate that. And we hope you stick with us and learn with us and go over the things with us moving forward, however things go moving forward here. So we'll get to the all 22 tape. Alex and I will talk about that more on Wednesday and answer more of your questions and kind of dissect and start getting ready for the Steelers at home in week 6 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Acrisure Stadium. So in the meantime, until Wednesday, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.